Another Wednesday's come and gone, and I've got some comics. Let's talk about them. Hey, welcome to 9 Panel Grid. This week we've seen demonic and vampiric possessions, we've seen beings birthed from the earth, and we've seen a gunslinger on a path of revenge. But this week we're going to kick things off with Blood Hunt number 3, written by Jed MacKay with artwork by Pepe Larraz. This issue kind of surprised me, if I'm being completely honest with you. Pepe Larraz has been fantastic art-wise on this book each and every issue, and he's kept up the pace on each and every one, delivering really breathtaking images. I think that they're really beautiful and they're really event-worthy if this is supposed to be an event book within the Marvel Universe. On the flip side of that, Jen MacKay has actually delivered a pretty good story here. I feel like each and every issue has gotten better and better and better. The weird thing is that this continues to be the better book amongst his books that he's writing right now. If you compare this to Avengers, I think that this is a better Avengers book than the flagship title is in itself. In this issue particularly, we kind of like we take the steps further where Miles Morales is revealed to be bitten by the vampires, and Doctor Strange takes steps in making sure that he can still be in control of his body while going through this transformation and trying to figure out what the end game is going to be, how they're going to stop this vampiric assault and stop their end game from occurring. It was a pretty tight issue. I think that the storyline really kind of flowed along and kind of kept a good pace all throughout, and was really, again, a surprisingly pleasing issue. But Blood Hunt number 3, if you picked it up, let me know what you were thinking. Okay, the next issue from the big two, we're going to talk about Giant Size Daredevil number 1, written by Saladin Ahmed with artwork by Paul Davidson. So I took a rider on this because I'm a huge Daredevil fan, and I tend to kind of skip out on annuals or one shots or anything that really isn't going to have any big relevance unless it's like a really big flagship team. This was a little bit of a letdown, if I'm being completely honest. It does tie directly into the events that are happening within the Daredevil story right now, so it's not something that you can necessarily throw away. But man, this issue really does kind of struggle. I think what they're trying to do is shoehorn in some kind of way to make Kingpin the kingpin of crime once again, without having him just revert back to his criminal ways. As a decision that he's made for himself, basically. What they're trying to do is kind of, rein in some of the possessions that have been happening in the prior issues of Daredevil, and they're bringing Wilson Fisk into that fold. The writing is completely solid. I do believe that Saladin Ahmed is doing a good job on the book itself here in this issue as well. However, the art for me really does fall a little flat. It is the caricatures of the characters within this book are really, they get to the point where they're absurd. Wilson Fisk bursting through a door looks like, 3 times the size of what he truly should be, and I kind of get that there's exaggerations that we would expect from a comic book. There needs to be a heightened level of reality when it comes to these books, but man, it got to a cartoonish level that I think was maybe 1 or 2 steps beyond. The quality of the artwork was there. The scale and the scope and the panels that were used, though, oh man, it was really kind of difficult to get through, if I'm being completely honest. So this felt like kind of a bridge between issues. Is it wholly necessary? No, probably not. If you're a huge Daredevil fan like me, you'll probably end up picking it up anyway here. But Giant Size Daredevil number 1, if you picked it up, let me know what your thoughts are. All right, the next book up, we're going to talk about Miles Morales Spider Man number 21, written by Cody Ziegler with artwork by Brent Peoples. So, this is a direct continuation off of Blood Hunt number 3, one of the prior issues that we were just speaking about. And it does a good job picking up the pace and picking up the pieces from where we left off and kind of takes the story and brings it forward. Where it stumbles a little bit is the same place that every single issue prior in the Miles Morales Spider Man run has stumbled, and it's directly revolving around the amount of tie ins this book has. I think that Cody Ziegler, quite honestly, deserves a medal for keeping this book going with how much he's been having to maneuver and miss all the speed bumps and potholes that are in his way trying to write a cohesive Miles Morales book. So Kudos to him for incorporating as much as he has been able to within this book. In this issue in particular, it draws in some of the characters that have been involved in prior issues. Some of them directly involved with the vampire's assault and being turned into a vampire themselves. But overall, the whole issue is kind of just like tripping over its own feet. The artwork, it definitely isn't to the level that we're used to with Vincentini when they're drawing this. um some of the some of the things that happen, it's almost kind of as if like, hey, this issue was just here to move the plot forward. We just got to get from point A to point B. Does it need to make sense constantly? No. Do we need to have something thought provoking? Do we need to have some kind of character moments built into this? No. Just move the plot forward. So if that's what you're looking for, or if that was the purpose of this issue, hey, it's a success. It does that job. Is it something that you're going to like, put the book down and be like, wow, that was quite the experience? Not quite. It was a halfway decent issue. So again, I got to give Cody Ziegler credit where credit's due here, but Miles Morales Spider-Man, you're always going to be better when you're not involved with the other parts of the Marvel universe, especially the big events. Okay, jumping away from the 616 universe, let's talk about Ultimate X-Men number 4, written and drawn by Peach Momoko. Something happened this issue. Not necessarily in the issue or with the issue, but something clicked in my brain when I was reading this, because I gotta say, I kind of thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't tell you what it was. I've been struggling, maybe is not the right word for this book, but it hasn't really lit a fire underneath me to really make me excited for it. But I read this issue, and I don't know, maybe it's the culmination of all of the issues put together and the journey that we've been going on, but man, I really liked what happened in this issue. So we continue to see our main characters, Maystorm and Armor, and they continue to build their companionship and their friendship. But we're starting to see different characters build, kind of come into the frame. We're starting to see what could be the true Ultimate X-Men team, the formation starting to happen, kind of, being formulated. We also see Armor finally actually take on the main villain of this story, who presumably seems to me to be Shadow King. If I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments, though, because I'd like to know what your theories are. But it was a really fun issue. I think that it's paced very well. Peach Momoko is Peach Momoko, right? If you love the art style, you're going to continue to love it. If you hate it, this is probably not going to change your mind. But I do feel like each and every issue is progressing and getting better and better and better. And one of the things I do appreciate is that Peach is kind of building in her culture as well in this, but she's not leaving you handcuffed and blindfolded, right? It's not that there's going to be a lack of understanding, because I kind of love that each and every issue, in the back of the issue, there's kind of like a debriefer or an explainer. Hey, here are some of the cultural things that were put into this issue, and here's why they're relevant to the story. I really kind of enjoy that. I've always kind of been a big fan of the study books and the guides, like, or the backs of the trading cards that break down like intelligence, strength, all those kind of things. And it kind of has that kind of feel to it. So it's a really cool thing. Maybe I'm turning around on Ultimate X-Men. I don't know. But if you're feeling the same way, let me know down in the comments. Ultimate X-Men number 4. What did you think? All right, moving over to indies. Let's talk about Crocodile Black number 2, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson with artwork by Samnath Pal. This was a really good continuation of the story. I kind of struggled through issue number 1. I feel like there was a lot that could have still been explored with the characters, and I didn't really have a grasp on what the main character's motivation was. But in this issue, I feel like I definitely do have a full grasp on what's happening and where it's going. So the main character definitely has some kind of disorder, like an obsessive compulsive disorder, and it seems that he's really glommed onto this dead body that he's found, his job being a grocery delivery person during kind of at the height of COVID. And he's glommed onto this individual who he finds dead within his house. And he starts becoming obsessive over that individual and his life and kind of his background and what's been going on. And he starts taking on these personality traits, and he starts taking on this persona of being this person. What he doesn't know is that this person is going to be hunted very soon for murder. He's being hunted by both the criminals and the police. So something bad is definitely going to be coming down the pipeline. But what this does is it kind of explores him, the main character, as he explores living this life. So he's kind of investigating, he's going through the entire apartment, kind of looking into the backstory of this person. He sees some kind of military duty that the person had served in the past, and he starts experimenting a little bit. He's hitting up the bar. He's trying to give this backstory as if he is this person, stumbling along a little bit. But in those stumbles, he maybe kind of entangles himself in some seedy operations that are going to be happening in the next issue. So I think this was definitely a much more effective issue and a much more effective exploration of our character that we're going to be following than issue one was. It's kind of reignited that fire. I want to see where this is going, and I know that I'm a big fan of Philip Kennedy Johnson's prior work, so I'm really curious on where this is going to go, seeing that this was a step up from issue one. All right, the next issue up is going to be Dick Tracy #2, written by Michael Morisi and Alex Segura, with artwork by Geraldo Borges. So this is a direct continuation off of the mystery and the murder that Dick Tracy's been investigating from issue one, and we're kind of exploring Dick Tracy as a character a little bit more, and seeing that issue one was so dark and gritty. This kind of stays within that same vein. We're looking at Dick Tracy through the lens of him being a war veteran and him dealing with PTSD before PTSD was even a thing, is something that was diagnosable or something that people looked to manage and deal with on a day-to-day basis. And we see how that directly influences him and impacts his day-to-day life. And we kind of see the impact that it has on the world that Dick Tracy is living in as well, seeing that World War II has kind of just come to an end. So it's a really cool exploration of those kind of things, and we kind of see what makes Dick Tracy tick. The other cool thing about this is that we start to see more characters, more villains specifically, kind of get drawn into the fold that are going to make the story even more and more interesting as Dick Tracy picks up on more and more clues and kind of starts unraveling the crime that happened. So it was a good issue. I do think that it got a little bit verbose in some parts of it. It was a wordy issue, and I don't think that the artwork really helped out the pacing of the issue either. It was just very dense. It's going to take a second to get through and read it. Not, I'm not going to go as far as to say overly verbose, but it's not the lightest, breeziest read that you're going to read this week. Still fully enjoyable, still a really fun, cool take on Dick Tracy, straying away from the campiness and more to the grounded realism. So I'm along for the ride. So, Dick Tracy #2, let me know what you were thinking. Moving right along, we're going to talk Geiger #3, written by Jeff Johns with artwork by Gary Frank. This was a really cool issue. It continues to be a really fun, well drawn, well written book. And it just continues the exploration that we've seen in the prior issues. This one in particular, we see our main hero Geiger and his unlikely companion, his ward, if you will, visiting a library, and we start to see Geiger kind of take a moment to himself. We kind of see him stray away from the adventure that they're on a little bit, and it kind of builds the character. He has those personal moments. More so, his companion, the kind of dim-witted character, the prior knights. We start to see some of the influence that Geiger is having on him. So they stumble through a couple things. The ward definitely has some missteps, both that put them in danger and keep them out of danger. But we start to really see a little bit about him and how he's growing with his time with Geiger himself. They're still on their journey, right? They're still looking for the other radioactive man that has either been cured or has a better level of control of his powers than our main character, Tariq Geiger. But we see Ward really kind of pick up, like the main heartbeat of this book is about Geiger's love of books. In the world that they're in, television doesn't exist, entertainment doesn't exist outside of really the written word. And it shows Tariq's already, heightened appreciation for literature. And we start to see our Ward kind of develop that's liking. He starts, having memories back to, his life before the world, turned into what it did, and he starts remembering some of the commonalities that they have. So trying to make things right, he kind of works out some deals and he puts himself, quite frankly, in danger, to make things right for some of the missteps that he's had. It was a great issue. I really, really loved it. It wasn't anything that really moved the plot forward, but I just so appreciate these issues that can take a breath and develop the characters a little bit more, because it's going to make you care about them that much more, especially in the moments that they're going to be in danger. And we know that it's coming down the pipeline very, very soon. So, Geiger number 3, if you read it, let me know your thoughts. And our next book up is going to be Into the Unbeing number 1, written by Zach Thompson with artwork by Hayden Sherman. So this is a brand new book that's come out from Dark Horse, and I was excited because I really, really love Hayden Sherman's work. I think that his artwork is, developed year over year over year, and it's just gotten better and better, from his days on Wasted Space to working with Scott Snyder on the Dark Spaces, and Chicken Devil on Aftershock. And I feel like it's every series that he's been on, it's been an evolution, and this continues to be the case. So this book kind of revolves around an apocalyptic Earth. Global warming is taking place. The landscape has changed. The Earth as we know it, and the livelihood of humans as we know it, has completely changed. And we're following this team of people in the very near future as they explore the new landscape and how Earth has changed and grown and just become different through global warming and some of the new things where nature has kind of developed new means to keep itself thriving and going. Zach Thompson has done this in other stories as well. He was the author of a Vault book a couple years back called No One's Rose, which was an exploration again on, on what's happening to the earth right here, right now in real time, and maybe some of the mechanisms how, humans can evolve and grow along with the damage that's being done to the earth. So by no means is he new to this. And I believe he had an exploration in a Kazar book as well that he did for Marvel, kind of in the same vein. So he has a passion for these kind of things, and that he has the background knowledge to really develop the story that he's telling. Where I think it gets a little bit clunky is just kind of the story that's being told. We're really kind of thrown into, the middle of a story here with characters that quite frankly we don't understand. We're kind of being told why we should care about them in these short little snippets, kind of developing their backstory, like, oh, this person's a really dedicated, you know, soldier in this, group of people, and this person's a really dedicated scientist. However, maybe they hit the drink one too many times here. They're passionate, but maybe they're overly passionate. We're told these things rather than being shown these things. So we don't care about them as much as maybe we would if we had the opportunity to kind of live with them a little bit more and kind of, show rather than tell. But jumping back to Hayden Sherman's artwork, it's gorgeous. It's fantastic. The main exploration with this book, visually told, is stunning. So we see the characters kind of go on this journey as they're looking at a topographical map, and they find this mountain range that is near them that has just cropped up out of nowhere for no reason whatsoever. So that's the kind of the catalyst for them to go on this adventure to investigate this. And what they find where they get there is that maybe the mountain range is a little bit more than just a mountain range. It could, quite frankly, be a living, breathing thing and quite possibly be the earth into itself. So the premise is cool. I really dig it. The artwork is fantastic. It draws me in. I feel like it needs a little bit more opportunity to develop these characters and give us reason to care about the danger that they're going to be put in, but maybe it just needs another issue to breathe. I don't know. I'm still along for the ride, and I think it was mostly good. It was a really good issue with the potential to be great moving forward. All right, the next issue up, we're going to talk about Napalm Lullaby number 4, written by Rick Remender with artwork by Bengal. I've struggled through this series. It's been a tough, tough series to get through. And I kind of feel like I see the notion that they're trying to get at, particularly with the narrative of this story. I just don't know that it's telling the story in a way that really makes me care about what they're saying. So, throughout the prior 3 issues, we've seen this brother sister duo take, they want to figure out a way that they can maneuver within the society, particularly the higher society within this world, and quite frankly destroy the god that has a stranglehold on society and has been controlling things and making it a dictatorship from the highest of high levels, not just a small country state whatever, but the entire world. And it's a cool notion to explore. I just don't know if they're doing so effectively. The other thing is, while that's kind of like a global look at what's happening in the book, the other aspect is that it's kind of looking at it through the lens of superheroics and how superheroes could be perceived as gods and how they would kind of play into all of those notions. It kind of just stumbles, and I've said this every single issue, and I think this was really truly the issue that was going to make or break the decision on whether or not I was going to be following along with this book. And I just don't think I can at this point. The artwork is very good. This is a very battle centric book, so there's a lot of opportunity for Bengal to kind of really stretch out and play with some super fun things, and he does so in this. However, I still just don't care about these characters, and there's been tragic things that have happened within this series, and it just has not pulled on my heartstrings. It hasn't made me feel, scared for them when they're in danger. It hasn't made me feel good about them when there has been successes. And the thing that they're fighting against, I just don't know. Beyond the simple notion that no, there shouldn't be a dictatorship and people shouldn't be under control, right? Those should be easily conceived notions, but like above and beyond that, I just haven't been shown a reason why they're fighting against this beyond that, right? I need to see some kind of ties, some kind of motivations, and the motivations just quite frankly aren't there for me. So, Napalm Lullaby #4, a little bit of a disappointment for this issue and the entire series here. But if I'm wrong, please, man, hit me up in the comments and let me know. Okay, our next book is going to be The Whisper Queen, A Black Sands Tale, #2, written by Chip Zdarsky with artwork by Chris Anka. I really enjoyed this issue. This was really, really good. I feel like with the two issues that we've gotten from this particular series within the Black Sands Tales, the other one being the White Trees, this has been much more effective and this has been a better tale. I really feel for the characters in this. We see the three main characters being the people who raised the two children, one of which is one of the adventurers, the other is the person that they're going to rescue. You have all of the things, all of the makings to really care about these characters. So within this issue, we see them on their journey and they're looking for one of the main character's brothers as he's been captured. And we really get the backstory on some of the tragic things that have happened within the past. And we see one of the parents in particular was really hard nosed in the past. And we see that they trained these two children to be fighters and to be survivors and to basically be able to withstand just about anything. The problem is by doing so, she also shut herself off from things like love and care and compassion. It was more about hardening them and making sure that their survival instincts were in place than letting them know that they were loved and cared. And we start to see that break all away. And we start to see some of the reasoning behind that as well. It's written in a way that really, really pulls at the heartstrings. It really makes you understand the notions of the parents and the children in both of these circumstances. And I love seeing the culmination of all of this come into play, and you start to see an understanding at both of these age groups and at these age levels. And man, it's just beautiful. The artwork again by Chris Anka is just outstanding too. There's a level of line work that is just so masterful. He knows how to use his thick and thin lines. The line weight itself is very well done. There's a very crisp and clean distinction of foreground, middle ground, and background whenever it's needed. And some of the panel work in particular is really quite amazing. It's a fun book. It's well paced. It's well written, and the artwork is breathtaking. I don't know what else there is to say. If you're not reading The Whisper Queen, you definitely should be getting on it. And with our runner-up book of the week, let's talk Gods #8, written by Jonathan Hickman with artwork by Valerio Schiti. I was completely surprised by this. This series has been all about peaks and valleys, and I think the nature of that really comes by way of each issue kind of taking on a little bit of an episodic value. But what this issue did is it took the best aspects of the main story that I wanted to follow the entire way through, and it really put a nice bow on things, and it really kind of explored some of the notions of, the avatars of both the natural orders of things and the powers that be. We start to see some of, the notions that they built up within the earliest issues of this, and how the main characters were married previously, but due to them being avatars they could no longer be together. it gets real timey-wimey in certain parts of this, but I think it's worthwhile. This was a really well-written issue. There are certain lines and certain things that Jonathan Hickman does. Man, like it's almost there's parts of this that are going to bring you to tears, and I did not expect that whatsoever. It does leave things a little bit open-ended so that maybe we can explore some of these characters in the future. Hopefully we do. Maybe this series just needs a breather to kind of redevelop what the true mission statement should be and where we're going to go, because I'm really compelled by these characters and I really want to see how their futures go, if they do or if they don't. But I think it's something that's worthwhile to explore because, man, you can really do some fun things in this book that are going to be connected to the Marvel Universe, but not so connected that they're going to be handcuffed to continuity. So that notion in itself is really exciting. We should be doing things like that. We should be exploring those kind of things. And I think given room to breathe, a series like this can be that. And issue 8 of Gods is the example of what it should be. And finally, with our top comic of the week, we're going to talk Ain't No Grave #2, written by Scotty Young, with artwork by Jorge Corona. Whoa, what a fun issue. This was just as awesome as issue #1, and it continues to tell the story of this gunslinger on a path to duel with death itself. Man, I'm blown away by this. I did not think that Scotty Young had this type of book in him. He's developed as a writer over the last couple of years. Maybe last couple of years is an understatement, but definitely, through the years, I'll say. And I think that this is something that he's maybe kept in his back pocket, this kind of story, because a lot of the other things have been very introspective and very emotion driven, and this has emotional beats to it, definitely, especially the quest that our main character is on is driven directly from emotion. But this book is just like action packed. I think maybe it's just because maybe after I turned 40, I developed old man brain, and now I'm just like totally into westerns and stuff like that. But I just love this book. Jorge Corona renders some of these characters and some of these gunslinging fights just so masterfully. The camera angles that he's using, the direction that he's flowing the pages and making drawing your eye as some of these awesome things happen they're just amazing. They're really something you need to behold for yourself. The coloring as well is just breathtaking. He uses a very very warm palette throughout most of it, so when there are going to be moments where there is a coldness and a darkness, they really pop off the page, and they're used very sparingly, but when they do, you notice it. Now, the other part of this is that while Scotty Young is having a lot of fun, obviously, plotting and planning some of these action scenes, we start to explore our main character and some of the things that she had done in her past that make her such a nuanced, complex character, because it's one of those things where she starts to understand the aspects of herself that she hates, but she also understands more than she hates. She's on a quest to stop her own death and to stop death itself, because she knows her wrongdoings of the past, and it's not that she's apologizing for them, and she's not even quite frankly taking responsibility for them. She's doing things the only way that she knows how to, which is with a six gun. So it was really cool. It's really fun. It's keeping up the pace. It's never ever bogged down, but it's still taking opportunity to, build on those character moments, which I so appreciate. It's just developing into a great series. I cannot wait to see where this is going to go, and I'm just along for the ride. So, Ain't No Grave #2 is my top comic of the week. Let me know what yours is. All right, well, that's what I got for you this week. But do me a favor, let me know, what were you reading and what were your thoughts? Like, share, and subscribe. And do me a favor, leave a comment down below and be part of the panel. Thanks again for watching. We'll talk to you next week.